Hi, I'm Merlin Showalter. I'm a Steadicam operator and cinematographer. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to build your camera rig. Here we have all the components of our camera build. Let's start with the heart of the camera build, the camera body itself. Here, we've got our Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K. In order to build out this camera body for all of the accessories we need to add some mounting points so the accessories can be attached. That's where a camera cage comes in. So we've got our camera cage that attaches to our camera body here, and it's going to mount on 2 screws on the top and the bottom so that you have as minimal wiggle as possible. Start with the top here. The next accessory I'm going to add is a top handle for this camera body. This particular top handle will mount through a cold shoe mechanism on the top of our camera cage, similar to the way you might mount a flash onto a DSLR. As you can see, this is pretty snug. I feel pretty good about this, and we'll move on to add our base plate. This base plate will attach to the bottom of our camera build and hold our rods for the follow focus and battery plate. So let's flip our camera to the bottom. And you can see that there are several mounting points at the bottom of the camera cage. Now we just need to line up a point where we can screw in our 1/4-20 bolts. And I'll just finger tighten that to get in the position. And we'll use our flathead screwdriver to tighten it down all the way. So here we've got our base plate at the bottom of the camera cage, and now we'll add our 15mm rods. So we'll take our first 15mm rod and insert it through the front or the back and line it up approximately where we think our focus motor or our follow focus is going to go, as well as leave space in the back for our battery plate. I usually like to save putting the camera lens on last, so I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it and guess where the length of the lens is gonna be. So I've got that there. I'm gonna tighten it down. Take our second rod, insert it, line it up with the first, and tighten it down. Next, let's add our power supply and our battery plate. Here we've got our battery plate, and it is outfitted with a 15mm rod adapter. I'm gonna take our battery plate and slide it on the back here, all the way, and tighten it down. Now that we've got our battery plate attached to the camera, let's add our power supply. In this case, it's a V-Lock battery. This external battery is going to be powering our camera as well as the wireless video and our monitor. We've got a power cable here, which we'll be taking from our V-Lock battery into our camera to help keep it powered to supplement what the internal battery is doing. At the end of our cable we have to power the camera is what's called a P-tap or D-tap, and that is a common way that you'll be plugging in accessories for camera and different peripherals. On the other end, we've got the proprietary Blackmagic power supply. Once I've found my P-tap output, I'll plug the P-tap in to the battery plate, and I'll plug the proprietary Blackmagic end. To plug in the power supply in your camera, you'll want to rotate it until you feel that there is a pin lock and that it slides in without any excess force. To keep my cables tidy, I'm going to be using a twist tie. I also like to use these little things called sprigs, which bolt into your 1/4-20 taps on your camera cage and allow you to just kind of hook your excess cable in a way that it doesn't flop around. Now that we've got power sorted out for the camera, we want to make sure we've got media in the camera to record to. So I've got a little clip that's going to attach to our camera cage that holds our SSD, and we'll just insert. That'll go onto our cold shoe. We tighten that down and insert our SSD, and we have to connect our SSD with a USB-C cable. Now that we've got our media attached to our camera, let's get a monitor on there. For external monitoring, we'll be using a 5-inch, in this case, this is a small HD 503. In order to do this, we'll be taking an articulating arm and screwing that into our camera cage and then putting that on our monitor. So I'll take this articulating arm and screw it into one of our mounting points on the camera cage. In this case, we've got mounting points on the top handle as well. And we'll tighten down one end of the articulating arm, tighten that down, and use the other end, which is another 1/4 20 screw, and attach our monitor. Once we have our monitor roughly in position, we'll need to get power and video signal to it. First thing is a power cable. So once again, we have a P-tap connector that will be attaching to our V-lock battery. And in this case, for our monitor, we have a 2-pin LEMO connector. Next, we need to get signal to our monitor, so we'll be using an HDMI cable out of the Blackmagic Pocket into our monitor. Now that we've got power and video signal to our external monitor, we'll be adding a wireless video transmitter to get that video signal to the rest of our video village. Here we've got a Teradek 1000 transmitter, and it's come from our rental house. We just need to add some antenna to it. And find a place to mount this to our camera cage. Try to make sure your antennae are pointing up when you have a wireless transmitter. Because our camera only has one HDMI output, we'll be taking that signal from the monitor to the Teradek. Next, I'm going to preset my follow focus so that it's in position for when I add my lens. We also need to power our Teradek. And we've got a P-tap that goes to our battery plate. Once we've got all of our other accessories attached to the camera, let's get our lens checked out and attached to the camera body. When you pull out your prime lens, make sure your front cap and your rear cap are off. Take our body cap off the camera. Check the rear element, check our sensor, make sure everything's clean. Then we'll slide our follow focus into place. Tighten that down. Now our follow focus allows us to get much more precise focusing. Once we have our lens on the camera body, we'll take our matte box and ensure that the back of your matte box has the correct diameter backing in order to clamp on to the front of your lens. Once we have our matte box in, we're going to test our filters. We'll remove our filter tray from our matte box and carefully insert our filter so that it doesn't fall out. One last thing that you might find with your matte box is a French flag, or also known as an eyebrow. This will attach to the top of your matte box in case you need to block out any unwanted light spill from sources coming from above. Ready to build your own? Join me in my online course, The Art of the Moving Image, and follow my process from scratch.